Another Universal comedy has come to 4K. Is this Judd Apatow classic worth the wait and upgrade in 4K? What is going on, everybody? Tom Chattelbash here, and if you love physical media like I do and collecting 4Ks like I do, then rest assured you are in the right place. And without further ado, let's review the new 4K disc for the 40-year-old virgin starring Steve Carell. Now, this is one of my favorite comedies of all time. This is, the first film Judd Apatow directed. This is what put Steve Carell really on the map, in addition to The Office, of course. And it put a lot of these favorite Apatow players on the map, like Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen, to name a few. So many great comedic players here, and it's just a movie that's just endlessly rewatchable, and I watched it so many times growing up on DVD and on TV, even the censored versions on TV. I loved this movie. So when I heard that it was coming to the 4K format, I was intrigued to see how it would look, how it would sound, and finally it's here. So let's talk about it. So today we've got the 4K disc of the 40-year-old virgin from Universal, and it's pretty standard packaging. You got the slipcover like with the Meet the Parents release, and then inside you've got the 4K disc and you've got the Blu-ray disc. And what I like about this release, though, even though the packaging is pretty standard, pretty bare bones, honestly, is that both the theatrical and unrated versions of the movie are in 4K. So that's pretty sweet. Not a lot of studios do that, so that was a nice little touch. And in terms of special features, since this is the film's 20th anniversary, there's a whole discussion with Steve Carell and Judd Apatow and Catherine Keener and some of the other members of the cast, which is cool. And there's, other bonus features here too. There's a lot of them. You get deleted scenes, you get a gag reel, you get tons of stuff in the special features section, which is great. I'm not sure what's being carried over from the Blu-ray release to this one and what's new. There's other channels that I'm sure are going to cover that. I'm just here to tell you what I think of the transfer from a video and audio perspective, what I think of the packaging. I'm just your average consumer who just happens to love movies and collecting 4K, folks. Now, what did I think of this 4K upgrade? Is it worth buying? Is it worth getting on disc and seeking out, especially if you're a fan of this movie? The simple answer for this one is yes and no. I don't think that this one is as strong as the Meet the Parents release that also came out this week. I think it has some serious pros, but also I think it has some things that are a little bit underwhelming here, unfortunately. But let's talk about the pros first. Now, the big upgrades here are that we get Dolby Vision and we get Dolby Atmos. I was very curious to see how the Atmos would sound, considering this is just a studio comedy, and I wasn't sure exactly how this would sound with an Atmos track. It just kind of felt like overkill, like with Meet the Parents. Didn't really feel like there was a need for it, but cool bonus. And I think the Dolby Vision upgrade, for the most part, is pretty solid. I don't think colors pop as much as you think that they might. Pretty muted color palette overall here, but that might have just been the artistic intention. That might be what Apatow and his cinematographer wanted to maintain on this release. It's hard to say, but I did think that the colors would pop a little bit more. Some scenes they do, but most of the time, very muted, surprisingly. But I think where this disc really shines is in its darker scenes. There are a couple scenes where Andy and his buddies here are, whether they're in a club or they're in a dimly lit bar, the contrast is gorgeous. Like, the black levels on this disc are beautiful, and it really adds this three-dimensional quality to those scenes where those scenes look entirely new, like from a completely brand new movie, where they really shine, really pop out. So that really stood out to me. And also, I do feel like there is an uptick in clarity and detail here. There are some close-ups that look stunning. There are some scenes that look fantastic. But then again, it is a bit of a mixed bag, because there are a bunch of shots that do look very soft, a little bit unfocused, or look like they could have easily just been on the Blu-ray release, and it just didn't really look like there was much of an improvement. Again, just mixed bag in terms of the visuals, but I think overall, on the whole, this is an upgrade visually. Now, in terms of the audio with this Atmos track, didn't really wow me, I'll be honest. It was very underwhelming, very lackluster. I think the dialogue sounded very crisp. It did have some good low end. There's a great scene where Leslie Mann's character is like jamming out to a Missy Elliott song while she's drunk driving in a car with Steve Carell's character, where I felt like the bass was really solid and I could really feel that. But in terms of like height activity and surround activity, there isn't much of it in this movie. It's the 40-year-old virgin. It's a studio comedy, so there's not going to be a ton of surround activity. So I really just feel like the Atmos mix here, very underwhelming, didn't really need it. I think we could have easily stuck with a 5.1 and probably would have sounded pretty similar. So on the whole, I would say this disc, for me, I think it's worth the upgrade. Even with its flaws, I did feel like I was watching a lot of scenes for the first time, where I did notice some uptick in clarity and detail. I do think some scenes really pop in this one that really make it a worthwhile release. It's a little bit frustrating from a visual standpoint, a little bit underwhelming from an audio standpoint, but this is absolutely the best the film has ever looked. It could have looked a little bit better. It could have sounded, I think, a little bit better, but I think overall, I'm happy with this disc. I'm just not like blown away by it. So take that as you will. I mean, if you're a fan of the film, I can't see you being disappointed with this one. I mean, it depends on what your preferences are, what you're looking for. But for me, this one honestly was better than I could have hoped for. I was honestly expecting a super underwhelming release. I went in with very low expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed watching the movie again, of course, but also watching it in this format. I do think it's worth it. So that's my take on the 40-year-old Virgin 4K upgrade. What did you think of this release if you've checked it out? Are you going to pick it up? You know, are you a fan of the movie like I am? Do you love it as much as I do? Let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, everybody, I'm Tom Chattelbash, YouTube's most reliable movie critic.